I've noticed that feminists like to use words that are deliberately vague or have shifting definitions, so that it lets them better obscure their intentions or weasel their way through arguments. They claim that objectification is when a man turns a woman into an object. I think it's more accurate to say that in almost every case the word is used, it's meant not to express turning someone into an object, but rather to degrade male sexuality. Objectification merely expresses a hatred and disgust for male sexual desires. It's a tool to try to shame men for having feelings which are entirely natural and benign. Feminists complain that when a man sees a woman and feels attraction toward her, he's not seeing her as a complex human being, but instead merely seeing her through the lens of his own desires and his own ends, thus objectifying her. Well, I have news for you. That happens all the time with the people that we encounter in our daily lives, and it's not nearly as evil as feminists want to paint it. For example, when the pizza delivery guy brings me a pizza, that is usually the most important thing about him, at least to me. I can't put that much thought into what his home life is like, how his parents treated him as a child, or if he is happy or sad with his life. I just want the pizza. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. Just because I don't appreciate the depth of humanity in each and every person that I come across doesn't mean that I have dehumanized them in my mind. It doesn't mean that they are objects to me or that I would mistreat them. Along the same lines, if I see someone attractive, I might feel lust towards them while at the same time not consider all the complex things that are happening in that person's life. It doesn't degrade them in any way. It doesn't make them any more of an object. I mean, you could walk down a city street with 100 different people and not give too much thought to any single person. You might notice an old guy, maybe a policeman, and there might be a girl who is really hot. There's no reason to think that the pretty girl is less human in your mind than the old guy just because you are more attracted to her. And she is not an object just because you're thinking about having sex with her, any more than the policeman is an object just because you worry that he might give you a ticket. The truth is, none of us can really appreciate the humanity of people who are not intimately a part of our lives. So why does male attraction towards females get labeled as objectification? Because the idea of objectification expresses misandry in such a way that virtually every man is guilty. Virtually every man can be shamed. Every man can be painted as someone with sociopathic tendencies, which is what viewing other people as objects really implies. It's one of the ways that feminists seek to enforce a hypocritical double standard, where women can dress or act provocatively and reap the full benefits of doing so, but when a man reacts in a way that's only natural, it's somehow wrong or oppressive. Also, accusations of objectification almost always pertain to how men primarily experience lust and desire, visually. On the other hand, for sexual outlets that are usually feminine, the word hardly ever arises. For example, we often hear that pornography objectifies women, but we seldom hear about anyone being objectified by 50 Shades of Grey or other romance novels. Feeling sexual attraction is entirely natural. Humans are sexual creatures. There's nothing wrong with looking at a pretty girl and feeling attracted to her, or for that matter, looking at images of attractive women for the sole purpose of gaining pleasure from it. When a movie has an attractive female lead, or a commercial has a young woman in a bikini, some women condemn it as a cheap attempt to appeal to men. To which I say, what's wrong with trying to please men? Why is male sexuality seen with such negativity? Well, maybe it's because there are such major undercurrents of misandry within our society as a result of feminism. You may have noticed that a lot of feminists these days describe themselves, at least if confronted by this topic, as sex-positive feminists. I think if any woman who describes herself as being sex-positive while believing in objectification, which means writing off half the population as perverted sociopaths, is a hypocrite and not sex-positive at all. More accurately, she is positive about her own sexuality and thinks her attraction somehow mystically gauges the character of men, as I mentioned in my creepy video, while being able to dismiss the desires of men as base and degenerate. Now, this isn't to say that there aren't men out there who act inappropriately towards women, who use women for sex, or who are jerks. There are plenty of men out there who are immoral, just like there are plenty of women who are immoral and who exploit men. In fact, there are probably more women who exploit men, as our misandrous culture condones and facilitates it. In any case, the fact that bad people exist has nothing to do with male sexuality or the visual nature of their attraction toward women. This is why I disregard any accusations of objectification in any kind of media. It generally just means that it has something in it that might appeal to straight men. Feminists have created a term that makes men seem like sociopaths. You see, it dovetails into their conviction that all men are potential rapists. The same group of people who claim all the glory for the sexual revolution of the 60s are trying as hard as they can to repress men's sexuality, to shame men into only having the feelings that women give them permission to have.